Trevor Siemian is finally getting the love after throwing a career-high 4 TD passes in his first road start. He looked unfazed under pressure in the fourth, putting up a pair of TDs and leading the Broncos to a 29-17 win over the Bengals. The defending Super Bowl champions are 3-0 under Siemian. Ryan, let's start with you. After the Broncos win yesterday, are they now the biggest threat to the Pats in the AFC?
Pats won the Super Bowl last year? Huh? So, I mean, why are we talking about the Pats like they're
You didn't like that phrasing.
They're the defending champions.
That was my point in the morning meeting.
I mean,
who
posed that? Who decided that question was going to go that way? You look at the Denver Broncos. They're built to beat a team like the New England Patriots. The Patriots come in and they're going to try to spread you out. They're going to try to beat you schematically because they don't necessarily have the pieces other than Gronk. And that's what the Denver Broncos did on their way to the Super Bowl last year. So we should be asking, are the New England Patriots the biggest threat to the Denver Broncos? If you look at the way this team started the season with Trevor Siemian, I, as the football guy up here, would say that the offense is more dangerous with Trevor Siemian than it was when it won the Super Bowl last year with Peyton Manning. You look at this team yesterday, they were able to get the ball down the field. No one feared them being able to push the ball downfield last year. And you've seen Trevor Siemian progress each and every game. The playbook has opened up, and now you see Coach Kubiak's stamp on this team. It's a team that runs the zone stretch running plays. Now you can get the bootlegs. Now you can get the play-action passes and use Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders. And if you look at those guys as a starting tandem, there is no number 2 there. Those are 2 number 1 receivers on the same team, with C.J. Anderson now running the ball and Booker coming in to spell him as the 1-2 punch. The rookie, he had a fumble on his first carry, but you know that team has confidence in him because they continue to give him opportunities to run the ball. And defensively, there is no defense with a... Now, the New York Giants play well defensively. The defensive backs are really good. Eli Apple's better than I thought he would be this early. You see those guys go down yesterday, the game changes. But the Denver Broncos are the premier secondary in the NFL. Darian Stewart, T.J. Ward hitting in the back, in the middle of the field at the safety. Obviously, Akeem Talib can cover any big receiver in the league. Chris Harris Jr., the most versatile and one of the better playmaking cornerbacks in the league. And then you bring Roby off the bench, a first-round pick. This team is set up to win the Super Bowl again. This team is made to beat the New England Patriots. And is New England always a team we are going to talk about as AFC contenders? Yes, as long as Bill Belichick is the coach, I don't care who plays quarterback. They can call Max in next week, and they're going to have a chance to win. Okay, maybe not Max. Maybe Stephen A. He got long arms.
Hell no. I'm not getting hit.
So when I look at this Denver Bronco team, they're the favorite in the AFC to me right now. Yeah, with all that New England's done, this is the team to beat.
I wish I would have gone first because I don't have much to add to that. You hit on all the relevant points there. I think it's one of the greatest secondaries in the history of football when you consider the era in which they're playing and what they've done to shut down the passing game. It's just absurd. But the phrasing of the question is indeed the problem. Are the Broncos the biggest threat to the Patriots? The Broncos are the reigning and defending Super Bowl champions, the reigning and defending and now undefeated Super Bowl champions. And let's look at the quarterbacks they just went through so far this year. Cam Newton, Andrew Luck, Andy Dalton. 1, 2, 3. I mean, elite quarterbacks, however you want to slice it, got nothing for this defense. They got nothing for them. You mentioned the quarterback, the receiving tandems. They rush the passer on defense. They defend against the pass, period. They have the elite wideout tandem you mentioned, and they can run the ball. Do they have a great offensive line? It's a good enough offensive line. Do they have a great quarterback? It's a good enough quarterback. Peyton Manning at this point through 3 games last year, 5 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Same thing with Siemian. And the question was, through the first 2 weeks, you know, can he play? We don't know. They're taking it easy, as you mentioned. In week 3, can he play? Can Siemian actually play? And the answer is yes.
On the road,
he can actually play, and he got the win against a tough team.
Sounds great. It really, really does. None of your points can be argued on its face. The problem is you must take into consideration. It's just like somebody shadow boxing is entirely different than getting in that squared circle. The bottom line is that, you know, you got to play somebody. And they played the Bengals yesterday. And the Bengals defense hasn't been that great. I don't know if you've noticed, but they haven't been that great. I don't know if you've noticed that the Bengals have already lost 2 games in the season. I don't know if you've noticed that this team that's been in the playoffs 5 consecutive years suddenly doesn't know how to find itself. Andy Dalton's back in there now. He's no longer hurt. And, you know, you still got Jeremy Hill, and you still got these boys, A.J. Green and those guys. But they look like depressed puppies sitting on the bench. Just their arms, shoulders over the bench and stuff. Just recline back, chilling out. I don't know what the hell's wrong with us. I don't even know if I care. That's what they look like. Because in Cincinnati, that's how you usually look. Except they usually reserve that for the postseason as opposed to the regular season. That's a different subject for another day. The point that I'm trying to make is this. Trevor Siemian, he can play. Give him credit, no doubt. Definitely an upgrade from the clearly beyond his prime Peyton Manning. Possibly Brock Osweiler as well, even though he went 5-2 as a starter. I still think it's about this defense. Keep in mind that before yesterday, the receivers were complaining, particularly Demaryius Thomas. Why? Because him in concert with Emmanuel Sanders had combined for 226 yards on 17 catches. And they were like, we need more offense. We need better offense. So what happens yesterday? Those two get the ball. Both of them had in excess of, Demaryius Thomas had 100 yards. I think Emmanuel Sanders had 116 yards. All I'm saying to you is that I'm not saying that you're definitively wrong. I'm in no position to say that at this juncture. What I'm saying is let's take into account who we're talking about here, who they were playing. I know that you don't like to do that, Max, because I know that for you.
The NFC champs?
I'm sorry, I listened to you. I listened to you. Did I interrupt?
One?
Did I interrupt? Zip it. I did not interrupt. I chilled. I waited. What I'm saying to you, Max, is that I know that you like to talk about teams as if they're just sitting out there chilling, you know, playing all by themselves, playing catch with themselves, whatever. I'm saying to you, you got to take the opponents into consideration.
Panthers and Bengals aren't good opponents now? I'm just curious.
I'm not high on the Bengals. I'm talking about yesterday, because we weren't talking about the Broncos until yesterday.
Yes, when the Broncos play a team that day, that other team doesn't look good. That's true.
We were not talking about those other teams. We were talking about the Broncos. We didn't talk about the Broncos before. We're talking about the Broncos today. And I'm saying we're talking about the Broncos today because they're standing 3-0. The defense is still elite. They got the best corners in the game. They pretty much kept everybody. They lost Malik Jackson. We got the Danny Trevathan. They probably both, Jacksonville and Chicago, they're probably regretting that they left. Although cashing those checks certainly don't hurt them at all. But in the end, the Broncos are a better team completely. At the same time, I got to take into account the Cincinnati Bengals. All I'm saying is that I'm not high on the Cincinnati Bengals. Of
course not. You know why? At this early in the season, if you play the Broncos, that team starts to get the Carolina Panthers don't look great right now. You know why? One of the reasons is 3 games. One of them came against the Broncos. Same thing against.
Well, you look at it that way, but I'll take this a step further. You can make a legitimate argument of concern about somebody like a Carolina because the pieces are in place, plus you added a Kelvin Benjamin. In the case of the Broncos with Trevor Siemian, in the case of Philadelphia with a Carson Wentz, in the case of Dallas with Dak Prescott and others, what you have is unfamiliarity, limited amount of film. I need to see more of these guys in particular situations,
listen,
and that can help you.
You definitely need to see more of Carson Wentz, for sure. But Trevor Siemian isn't the reason this team is good.
But that's what I'm saying.
The things that make this team good, we are sure about. I am sure about this defense. Right. I am sure about those 2 receivers. I'm sure that Coach Kubiak can coach offensive football. And as long as Trevor Siemian continues to progress and continues to gain confidence, this team is going to be tough to beat because when it gets cold, when it's hard to throw it, when you have to rush the passer, when you have to be physical, this team can do it, and more so than they could last year because offensively, you've now changed what you did and what you do.
John Elway also. Like, you want to have trust in someone, look at the job Elway's done recently.
Well, you did lose Osweiler, though. I mean, you groomed the dude and then you lost him.
Well, because
they should be thanking their lucky stars.
That's because John Elway correctly. Wait a minute. That's because John Elway correctly priced the talent in the salary cap league. GM better be precise pricing talent. He looked at Osweiler and said, "You are not going to get paid like a franchise quarterback." The quote was, there should be a middle class of quarterbacks, which we know Osweiler fits into. Instead of overpaying him, he didn't. Finally, the question, are they the biggest threat to the Patriots? Is like asking Stephen A. Ryan, it's like asking, is Mayweather the biggest threat to Canelo? He already beat Canelo. The question is, who's the threat to Floyd, not vice versa. The Broncos are the
Guys,
champs.
for how I phrased the question,
look at it
everybody.
that
The Broncos get
I
the
don't look at it
Bucs
that way.
on Sunday. We'll leave it there. Ryan, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, guys.
Always fun. Coming up next, the reigning MVP is roughed up by the Vikes defense yesterday, dropping the Panthers to 1-2 this season. Don't miss what the guys have to say about it after the break. Good morning. We start First Take on this Monday with devastating news from this weekend in the world of sports. Marlins 24-year-old superstar pitcher Jose Fernandez was killed in a tragic boating accident late Saturday night, and one of the greatest golfers of all time and the game's most beloved figure, Arnold Palmer, passed away on Sunday at the age of 87. Gentlemen, this was such heartbreaking news yesterday as these stories unfolded.
Well, in the case of Arnold Palmer, 87 years of age, an iconic figure in the world of golf, in the world of sports, period. Our heartfelt condolences obviously go out to his loved ones, his family. 87 years old, lived a wonderful life, gave us a lot of great moments. We appreciate all that he has done. In the case of Fernandez, 24 years of age, 24 years.
It's not fair.
Whole future ahead of him. A star, superstar in this league. Obviously the face of the Miami Marlins franchise. Just watching Dan Le Batard on SportsCenter crying, just seeing so many of our baseball.
Eduardo Perez.
Eduardo Perez as well. What can you say? I mean, it's just devastating.
Arnold Palmer lived a full life, 87 years old, and you always have to be greedy with life. It's never enough, and it's very sad that he passed, and he was the coolest guy and one of the biggest stars and helped popularize golf, and you can read all about it today, obviously. As Stephen A. said, heartfelt condolences out to his family and fans. Jose Fernandez, you know, so much has been said about the kind of person he was, which is, it's a testament to the kind of person he was, that so much has been said about that the kind of player he was has almost been lost in it all. And I watched also Dan Le Batard was a teary kind of tribute to him in a beautiful column that Dan Le Batard wrote about him and what he represented to Cuban Americans. But there's this relationship with baseball through numbers that helps people understand the game. I just want to say who Jose Fernandez through the numbers was as a baseball player. Because not since Thurman Munson's tragedy, and I was a little kid, a great Yankees catcher passed, he was already in decline, but still, when tributes come on TV to this day, I explain it to my daughters, that was Thurman Munson, what he meant to me and the Yankees and everything. Jose Fernandez had not yet entered his prime. If you have an ERA below 3, you're in Cy Young contention. His lifetime ERA, 2.5. If your walks and hits to innings pitched whip is below 1.1, Cy Young contention. His lifetime whip, 105. If you strike out a guy an inning as a starting pitcher, you might lead the league in strikeouts. He threw 471 major league innings, struck out 589 guys. Had he stayed healthy, that's a lot to say, but he'd have been in the Hall of Fame. This guy was an exceptional star talent. But it's a testament to the kind of person he was that no one's even talking about it today.
Yep, and Jose Day and how the community all galvanized towards him in a spirit. One thing I want to add with Eduardo Perez, with Hannah Storm, one thing that really stood out to me is how it took him 3 tries to get over to this country. And in the middle of the night, when he's on a boat coming from Cuba, someone had fallen off the boat. He dove in. It turned out to be his mother, but it was completely dark. He didn't even know it was her and was willing to risk his life. Talk about character. So all of us here on First Take want to send our prayers and condolences to the family of both Jose Fernandez and Arnold Palmer. Our hearts going out to you.